Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Tonight we're going to load data from an Excel spreadsheet, and we're going to do that into our Java program. We're using Apache's POI library, so that means that we can we can load a lot of Microsoft documents with the POI library. And if you don't know which dependencies you need to add, then you can go to the poi.apache.org, and then you press the button Component APIs. The website looks it looks like something from 20 years ago or something like that, but but it's still a cool library. At least that's what I think. And here we can actually see which the Maven artifact we need. So let's say that we actually want the XLSX, then we actually need this dependency right here. Then we need a POI OI and then OOXML. And we can just use the standard POI Maven dependency if we just want the standard Excel spreadsheet importer right there. Tonight we're going to use the XSX in end format, so that's why I also need that dependency. Of course, if you want to load PowerPoints, or if you want to write PowerPoints or Words or Visio, etc., Publisher, a Microsoft Outlook message, then of course we can also do that. But that must be in another video. Let us just jump right into it. First of all, I have this beautiful spreadsheet right here that the business has given me, and they want this to be loaded in, right? So let us pretend that we have a small business. And first of all, it has a header like this: important business data that the developers should have no problem of importing to our BI tool. That's usually what we developers get to begin with, right? Then we get something like, we have a header right here, products, and then maybe we have some sales figures over here in the second column. And then to begin with, here we have an integer actually, and here we have and it's actually a string, 300k. Then we have a date right here, because the comic books, they are not coming right now. We will get those in 2021. And of course, our loader can actually understand that. Of course, it can do that, and then still get something meaningful out of it. And also this 300k right here, it's a string, but we need to load it anyway. Then we have soda, false right now because we are not selling sodas for some reason. So of course the business people have just put in a false here, and of course our loader should be able to handle that, right? That's usually how it ends up. And then we have another string right here, skates. The numbers are a little bit higher than usual. I'll get the figures later. Just use the figures from last year. So that's also a nice string here. And of course our loader can use this to get something meaningful out of it, right? And then we have computers. This is a decimal. This is a good number, numeric number that we can actually use for something. So let us go to our Java program. First of all, I've created this project by pressing File, New, Project. Then I show Spring Initializer like this. I press Next, and then I chose Gradle. Then I press Next again. Then I ticked off Lombok, and I actually also chose Web, but I'm not using it. So it's just to get a framework that I could build on. Then I went to my build.gradle file, and I added these two dependencies right here, the POI and the POI OOXML dependencies. Those two dependencies right there. And then I created this reader right here. Of course, I created a spreadsheet that's up in my input folder right here. And then I created this read spreadsheet service right here. And I didn't have to make it a service because I'm not using it as a service at all right here. I've created a test that just creates a new instance of this and then calls this read workbook method right here. So first of all, I would actually like to create a list of product sales. That is actually the purpose of this. So I have a list of product sales, and my product sale class looks like this. It has a product, it has a sales figure, and the sales figure is a double, and the product is a string. And I annotated it with the Lombok data, so I get getters, setters, and to string. It's actually mostly to string that I need right here. That's why I added data. Then I added all args constructor, so I can create one by just giving all of the arguments. So let us continue a little bit. So this should be what we return in. This is our product from this method and from this service right here. I'm creating a new workbook right here, and I can only use the XSSF workbook if I have included the right dependency, the one with the OXML in end. And then I can give an input stream, and this is a file input stream, and I say this, I want to load the inputs / business input data.xlss, and then I can get a sheet like this by name. I could also get it by index, and usually it would actually be better to get it by index, because the next thing is, of course, that the business will change they will change the name of the sheet. So instead of important data here in the bottom, right here, then of course they would have called it something else, and then my program will break. So it is good to create it as fault resistant as possible when you get data from someone else. I'm just saying business is just to make it a little bit more interesting and real life. Like it's not like I really like the business. Of course, they are the one that they are the reason that the developers actually have a job, right? Yes. So. Then we have the headlines. So first of all, if I read row 3, first of all, the rows are mentioned by number. They start at 1, 2, 3. The cells, they actually start with 0. The columns actually start with 0. So if I want column 1 or column A, then it's actually column 0 that I want, or cell 0 on the row. So that you just need to know that. But here we have the products right here. So I'm getting the headlines right now here. This is header 1 and 2. It's just to print it out. Maybe I can make a test. So maybe I will say that if the headlines is not this, then maybe the business accidentally formatted the document or the spreadsheet, so the data should not be read. So this is kind of our start, right? We want to start on that row right now, but maybe someone in the business actually inserted some rows like this, and now suddenly it's row 4 instead. So it's good to create checks like that to make sure that it's that the document is valid. Then we have the products, and then we have the sales figures right here from row 4 and down to row 9, and that means that row 10 will actually come out as null when we ask for that row, because we have not filled in anything. That's how it works. So it would actually be null. It would not be a row that will contain some blank cells or anything like that. It will simply be null. So you also need to check for nulls, of course. I started row number 4. Row number 4 that was here. So now I have set an integer to row number 4. Then I have two variables that I need to fetch or extract. That is the product and the value, which is in double. And then I call this while right here. While product is not null and the product length is greater than 0. Then I just continue this while loop right here. I am getting a row, which is the current row number, and then I add 1 to the row number. So that means the next time we run this, then it will be row number 5. If the row is 0, then I know that then I actually ended up right here, and then I'll exit. So actually, I did not need this condition up here. I could just write while true, and then I could break it here when the row is null. Product equals row cell 0. So that means that now I'm fetching this cell right here, and then I say get the string value. So I expect all of these to be strings. So if I get some exception because this type is different than a string, then again I would just say that the document is not valid, and we need to talk to the business on how we actually create this. So I expect this to be strings, all of them, while I know that these figures right here, because that was I've talked to the business guys, of course. We talk well together, of course, and then they have actually explained to me why sometimes it is an integer, sometimes it is a string like this, sometimes it's a date, sometimes it's a Boolean. So we have made a lot of we actually have made a kind of a contract a document that actually describes how my readers should actually react, or maybe we just have an agreement that was just told to me. So so when the next developer fetches this in half a year, then he will have some problems, because all of this is just one big agreement with me. But that's how the real life sometimes is. But if we are doing it by the book, then of course it's documented somewhere. So that means that I need to check for the cell type. So I'll get the cell at position 1. That means that now I'm getting the cell out here, and then I'm asking by a switch. I'm creating a switch on the cell type. If it is none, then I just don't do anything, and we start with a value of 0. So if I end up with in one of the switch cases where nothing happens and we just breaks, then that's fine. Then we just end up with a 0, and of course then the business guys and girls will just complain. Of course, if that's not what they meant. But we have made this agreement that if it's a numeric, then we just set it to a numeric, unless it's row 6, because then we know that they're placing dates in this row right here. So this is row 6. So instead of that, then we will just log that we have a date, and then we'll log the date out, and we will keep the 0, which the value actually starts with. This is just an agreement. And again, this whole scenario, I'm just making stuff up, right? That's just so you know, it's not a real life scenario. It's just a simulation. I'm just making up some stuff right here. If it's a string, then we will just set it to 0, and then I will add the length of the string. I know this is rubbish, but again, it's just something that I made up. Of course, I could also have checked for the k. So let us say I had a number, and then with a k that meant 1,000. We could have made an agreement like that, of course. And of course, I could code that. But right now, I'm just I just wanted to create something easy right now, and then there's just value plus the length of the string right there. If it's a formula, I don't do anything. I just keep it as 0. If it's blank, I also keep it at 0. And actually, I don't need to set it there. If it's a Boolean, then if it's true, then I'll set it to 100. If it's false, then I'll set it to 0. So, and if it's an error type, I actually don't know when this will actually occur. Maybe it's if I use a formula that ends up in an error or something like that, but then I'll just keep the 0 also. Then in the end of my while loop, then I have my sales. This is my array list. I add a new product sale for that, and then I take the product and sale as parameters. By the way, do you know the difference between parameters and arguments? Arguments, that is what you set on your methods. So that is what you set on your method. For instance, up here, I don't have any arguments. Parameters, that is actually what you give to other methods. So these are the parameters for the constructor, or at least that I got this explanation the other day. I'm actually not sure that it's valid, but now you also have this. I don't know what you could use that for, but let us just continue. So, and then now I'm returning the sales right here. I've created a test. I can run this. So let's do that. This is my read spreadsheet service test, and yeah. Here I create a new read spreadsheet service. Then I call the read workbook like that, and then I get this returned, and then I call for each on the array list, and then I print out each of them, and I can do that because I've annotated the product sale with the add data, so it has a very nice toString method on it. Let us run and see what actually happens. So now it runs. And we can see all the product sales right there. We can also see here we have a date. And then the date of row 6. That was row 6. We can also see the headers, tomatoes. Oh, header 1 tomatoes, header 2 tomatoes. I made an error. I actually made an error. The row number actually starts with 0. Sorry. The row number actually starts with 0. That means that I'm too far right here. It should only be 3. So okay, so both row and columns actually start at 0. It did not make sense, right? So let us just go and change this. That means that the header will be in row number 2. So let us try to run again. Let us see what happens now. I'm sorry about that. So header 1 products and header 2 products. Oh, okay, I forgot to set this to 1 also. Yeah, but that's okay. Then we just code right now. That's okay, no problem. So here we have header 1 products, header 2 sales figures. Okay. So now we got the products and the sale figures right there. So that's really good. Now we have the header. And let us see, now we also have tomatoes. Yes, we did not get that product just before. So that is really good. Now we have tomatoes, 100. We got shoes 4. Shoes 4. That is because it's 4 characters long. The string right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 characters. Then we get the comic book sales figure 0. That's because we end up in this we end up in this if clause right here. So nothing actually happens. And then Okay, why? The reason why I'm stopping right now, because then this should also be row number 4 or 5, right? So there's actually something. Okay, but let us just ignore that for now. I need to look into that, because here we have the comic books. Comic books, where they're here, and here we have the sales figure. I think this should be 5, right? Let us try to run again. Let's see what happens. Oh, then we get this big number. So if you suddenly get a big number, this is how a date will be treated, like this big number right here. I'm going to set it to 6. I know why. Okay, it's because I'm adding 1, of course. Okay, now it makes sense. It's because after using the row number right here, of course I add 1, and that is why 6 is the right number to check for right here. Even though it's row number 5 that we're going through, because we start with 0, then it is suddenly turned into 6. So that is fine. Okay, phew, now it makes sense again, everything. And then we have the soda right here, sales figure 0, the soda, that's because it's false. We can try to change it to true, actually. Then it should be 100, true, equals true, like this. So now it's true. Let us try to run again, just to see the value change. Did I save it? No, I did not save it. Save, run again. And the soda right there, I am saving it. It should be true, right? So it should actually end up with, right there. Get Boolean value. So it should be 100. 100 is 0. That's a bit weird. Let us put in a breakpoint and let us try to debug the tests. Debug, let's see what happens. Actually, it did not stop. It did not stop there. How come? Is it because it takes one of the... Okay, maybe it's a numeric, even though it is actually a Boolean right here. So let us try to check if row number equals to 8. Let us try to stop then. So let's say that if row number 8, let us try now. Let's run again now. It did not end up with a Boolean. Okay, but that's a little bit weird. So this is now row number 6 right now. I'll just continue. Press F9. Nothing happened actually. So where else could I end up? I end up in a formula, of course. It's because I end up in a formula. Let's try again. Yes, I end up in the formula number 7 right here, soda. Okay, so now that we know that, then I will just... Then how do we create this as a Boolean? Let us just check right here. Equals true. Return the logical value true. Okay, good. Equal to true. Can I set the type somewhere? I probably can. Format cells. Boolean value. Okay, now it's there. Let us try again now. I'm sorry for this, but we learn a lot, so I think I will not cut it out. So yes, look here now. Soda ends up at 100 because now we end up as the... Before I used a formula which should return a true, but of course then we end up, then the cell type will have formula now, which actually shows Boolean, and the cell type has the cell type Boolean. That's why we ended up there with the soda. So now I have skates. Are there anything weird with that? The skates there, they will just use... Yeah, they would use the length of this string right here, and that is probably 108. Then we have the product sale in the end, the computers right here, the computers 499, yes, and that is also correct. So I'm pretty happy as usual. Yeah. So this was how to read a document, an Excel spreadsheet. So don't be scared if the business comes and says, "Can we please deliver some data to you in Excel or Excel X in the end?" Then you just say, "Yes, no problem, no problem," and then use the Apache POI framework for that. If they come with ODS format instead, then there's another framework you need to use. I'll make another video about that. That's also an Apache framework that can actually handle that. But thank you for now for watching, and I hope you have a great evening. Hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.